Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our board meeting. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Megan, will you call the roll?
Yes, Trustee Lautner?
Here.
Trustee Zara is absent. Trustee Council?
Here.
Trustee Sheehan?
Here.
Trustee Caputo is absent. Trustee Diaferio?
Here.
President DeCipio?
Here.
A quorum is present, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. First, we have the opportunity and the privilege tonight of swearing in a probationary firefighter, Kevin Brangio. Kevin was initially hired as a firefighter candidate in January of 2024 and has now successfully completed his probationary period requirements. During his probationary period, he has completed the Basic Operations Fire Academy, becoming a state-certified firefighter. He has also been tested on general knowledge of policies, standard operating guidelines, apparatus and equipment, and has passed a practical driving and pumping test for fire apparatus. Kevin is also an EMT. Kevin lives in Brookfield on Grand. Kevin went to Augustana College, was a tight end on the football team. Our Cole Komet here is with us tonight. So Kevin, congratulations. Chief?
Why don't you come on over here? We have to use this so you get on TV. Again, it's our honor tonight to congratulate Kevin. He will be taken off probation. He has passed all his probationary requirements. As you heard, there are a lot of training that goes on, on up to this point. It is a very busy point in his life. On top of that, he is now also currently enrolled in paramedic school, so he's moving forward with his career. As I like to remind everybody, our fire department is predominantly paid on call, but they're expected to perform just as well as career firefighters, and our training hopefully allows us to do that. Kevin, again, has finished all his training to the point where he is taking another large step in his career, coming off probation for the village of Grange Park. Again, as I said, we're expected to perform as well as career firefighters, but we're also expected to do that having other jobs, maybe being in school, many of us having a family at home that we have to raise in addition to working a job, and contributing some time to the village to make this work. And we appreciate the work of everybody, especially those here tonight. And again, Kevin, for getting to this point in this career. One other side note, Kevin is one of our, I believe, maybe our first time where we hired personnel that did not live within the village borders. Kevin and our other employees so far, we expanded those boundaries just a bit in Brookfield, and by doing that, we were able to expand our applicant pool and still get quality, good personnel that can contribute to our community, and we greatly appreciate that. Next, I think what we're going to do, we'll start by swearing you in. If we can have the clerk down here, that'd be great. Just listen to her.
All right, if you want to raise your right hand and repeat after me, please. I state your name.
I, Kevin Brangio,
Do hereby solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of firefighter in Grange Park, Cook County, Illinois.
Also, one of our traditions tonight is after we take the oath is we'd like Kevin to introduce who's here with him, and if he wants to invite them up, we'd like to formally have his badge, which you do not get till you're off probation, pinned on him. So if you want to introduce who's here.
So here tonight, I have my mom, Eileen, and my uncle Steve. Yeah.
If you want to go ahead without, well, your mom, so you can poke them if you want. Hopefully without poking. Right there. There's a couple holes there, so. Great job. Thank you very much. Again, congratulations to Kevin. As you know, not all of our part-time personnel choose to take a career into the fire service, but that is what Kevin's going to make it in an EMS. And we hope tonight is just another step in a long, safe career, prosperous and you know, good career in the fire service. So thank you again and congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. So, Kevin, I want to welcome you to our family, and I want to thank all the firefighters that showed up tonight. To our firefighters, our police department, our public works department, all of you that are outside during this hot weather, taking care of our needs and our services and protecting us. I want to thank all of you from the bottom of this board's heart to be safe out there and continue on with the great work that you're doing. And Kevin, now you're part of the family, so welcome. Okay, next up. Okay, next up we have a public hearing concerning the intent of the village board to sell not to exceed $5 million in general obligation bonds, alternate revenue source, to pay the costs of improving the sewage system of the village. I'll convene the public hearing, which I've just done. I'll then incorporate the legal notice. We'll get an explanation of the procedure of the hearing by our attorney, Drusik. Then I'll have presentation, discussion of the bond issuance by Finance Director Larry Noller. Then I'll entertain questions and comments from the board, then questions and comments from the public, and then the final questions and comments from the village board, and then we'll close the public hearing. So with that, I will turn it over to our legal counsel, Attorney Drusik.
Yeah, just to confirm, all required legal notices were either published, mailed, or posted pursuant to state law. The reason why we're having this public hearing tonight, there's an Illinois law called the Bond Issuance Notification Act. It requires whenever a municipality moves forward with the issuance of a set of bonds that aren't subject to referendum, that you have a public hearing. You need to inform the public of the nature of the bonds, the reason why you are seeking to issue the bonds, and what the purpose of the bond money the bond proceeds will be spent on the project, that's driving the issuance. So that's why we're here tonight. That's why we're having the public hearing, and it's now on to Director Noller to provide an overview.
Thank you. So tonight we are here to have a public hearing on the proposed bond issuance, and the issuance is, the proceeds will be used for the Central Area Sewer Separation Project. That project is intended to alleviate flooding in the village, and the proposed project has a total estimated cost of approximately $13.2 million. A portion of that project is going to be funded by a partnership with the MWRD in the amount of about $4 million. The village also has some additional grant money as well as cash reserves. The remainder of the funding needed for that project is proposed to be the bond proceeds from this issuance. We are intending to issue up to $5 million for the project. And those bonds are going to be alternate revenue bonds, which means they are going to be backed by the sewer fees collected by the village, but they also are backed by a pledge to issue property tax if those sewer fees are not adequate. We are going to see our debt service from our current sewer bonds that were issued back in 2006 for sewer projects. That debt service will be rolling off in 2025, which means that we can issue these new bonds, and the new debt service will be approximately equal to the current debt service, which means those bonds will be issued with the intention of not increasing the sewer fees at this time. With that, I can answer any questions by the board.
Any comments or questions from the village board? Trustee Lautner?
I don't have any questions because we've talked about this for a long time and a lot most recently as we made the decision to move forward on here. I think it's important to note that this project has been let me say it a different way. The need for this project has been a long time coming. And finally, we've reached a point when there's additional funds that have been granted us through the MWRD that has helped significantly make this project a project that we can finally hang on to without an impact to our residents. So this is a very exciting time for the village, I think, to have the opportunity to move forward on this, on a project that's going to have a significant positive impact on this village. And I commend all the efforts of everyone and staff and everyone that's been involved in helping us embrace this and to move forward. So thank you for your efforts, but it's been a long time coming, even longer time that we needed it, and finally we're going to be able to start doing it.
Thank you, Trustee Lautner. Any other comments? Okay, we'll move to questions and comments from the public. Anyone have any comments for the board? Seeing none, final questions or comments? Seeing none, motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Megan, call the roll.
Yes.
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 Thank you, Megan. That will close that public hearing. We'll move on to the next public hearing. Amendment number 1 to 31st Street Barnesdale Business District. Convene the public hearing. Again, we'll go into the legal notice, explanation of the procedure, presentation, discussion, questions and answers from the board, then the public, and then final comments from the board before we close the meeting. So I'll turn it over to Attorney Jerusek.
As with the bond public hearing, we're here on a public hearing to discuss the expansion or the amendment of your business district, 31st Street and Barnesdale Business District. The reason for the public hearing is the act requires notice by newspaper of a public hearing anytime the community moves to amend its business district. And in this case, the amendment involves expanding the boundary to include the 1024 Newberry property. So that's why we're here today. Our Deputy Village Manager has a PowerPoint to go over more of the details on this amendment. And then based on what the Business District Act provides, during this public hearing, the public does have an opportunity to have input and to provide comments. And we do have that provided for the agenda after Maggie's presentation is over.
Deputy Manager Jar.
Thank you. Tonight's presentation will include background information on the 31st Street Barnesdale Business District, an overview of the proposed amendment number 1, and then a project status update regarding the 1024 Newberry property. In March of 2017, the village established the 31st Street Barnesdale Business District to promote redevelopment, improve infrastructure, and support economic growth. This business district area includes 31st Street from Homestead to Blanchard and segments of Barnesdale Road and 26th Street. The business district was found to be a blighted area under the Illinois Business District Development and Redevelopment Law due to several factors that were identified through an eligibility study, which included
poor street layout, deteriorated buildings, and inadequate infrastructure, all of which hindered economic potential. So establishing the business district, it allowed the village to implement an additional sales tax of up to 1% on retail goods within the district for up to 23 years, and to use those funds to fund public improvements, to assist private development, and to support other qualified projects which contribute to an expanded tax base in retail business development. In July and September of 2024, the Village Board discussed the current and future parking demands throughout the 31st Street Barnesdale Business District area. And in November of 2024, the Village Board approved an ordinance authorizing acquisition of the property located at 1024 Newberry Avenue to expand the public parking lot off of Beach Avenue. This acquisition was a strategic investment to support the goals outlined in the 31st Street Barnesdale Business District Plan. Expanding the public parking lot will support existing businesses, help alleviate spillover parking, and improve overall access, circulation, parking management, and neighborhood livability. Oops. Go back here. And in May of 2025, the village engaged SB Friedman Development Advisors to assist the village in this amendment process to expand the business district area to include 1024 Newberry Avenue. The amendment process includes an eligibility study to confirm that the parcel is eligible to be included in the business district, and I'm going to review SB Friedman's report this evening. The parcel, located at 1024 Newberry Avenue, it includes a vacant single-family residence, and it is adjacent to the southern edge of the existing business district. Again, the village is seeking to develop a public parking lot on this expansion area of the district to facilitate economic growth in the original business district. And SB Friedman conducted this eligibility study for the expansion area, finding that it was eligible and therefore supporting its inclusion into the original business district. Now, this visual on the screen now, it's not part of SB Friedman's study, but it's, I think, a helpful visual in explaining when we refer to the expansion area. That's the area in red. It's the parcel, 1024 Newberry Avenue, and the adjacent right-of-way on Newberry. And here you can see it's just directly east, adjacent to the existing Beach Avenue parking lot on the south end of this existing business district, which is hatched in blue. The original plan would be amended through the document prepared by SB Friedman entitled Amendment Number 1 to include this expansion area, revising the legal description and also revising the list of PIN numbers. In total, there are 38 proposed revisions to the original plan in order to incorporate the expansion area into the business district boundary and to make some distinctions between that original business district plan and the amended business district plan. There are 2 maps that have been amended and included in the report. First, this map showing the original business district in blue and the expansion area in red within the entire community context. The second amended map zooming into just the business district area along 31st and Barnesdale. Again, the original business district area is in blue and the expansion area is in red towards the south end. In order to determine the expansion area, whether it qualifies as a blighted area, SB Friedman conducted field observations, analyzed historic trends in equalized assessed value for the last 6 years, reviewed building permits issued within the expansion area for the last 6 years, and reviewed the village's current comprehensive plan. SB Friedman's research indicates that the expansion area qualifies as a blighted area due to the predominance of one particular eligibility factor, which is deterioration of site improvements. Physical deterioration of surface improvements were observed on the private property side as well as the adjacent public right-of-way, including crackling and crumbling asphalt, as well as uneven sidewalk and front walkway. This blighting factor constitutes an economic underutilization of the area. And as the report highlights, an evaluation of change in property values over time is one of the clearest indicators of whether an area is meeting its economic potential. S.B. Friedman analyzed the change in the EAV of the expansion area over the last 5 years in comparison to the remainder of the village. The property value of the expansion area has grown more slowly than the balance of the village over the last 5 years, which you can see illustrated in Table 1. The failure of the expansion area to attain property value growth that's on par with the remainder of the village indicates that the area is economically underutilized. And in addition to the finding of blight, the Act also requires that 4 required findings and tests be satisfied for the designation or the expansion of an existing business district. And S.B. Friedman's research indicates that the expansion area satisfies these requirements, and there are 4. One is the lack of growth and development through private investment. The second is but for its addition to the original business district, the expansion area would not achieve desired redevelopment goals. The third is contiguity of parcels. Number 4 is conformance to the plans of the village. And in the summary of findings, S.B. Friedman found that the expansion area does qualify to be designated as a blighted area under the Act, that the expansion area is blighted due to deterioration of site improvements, which constitutes an economic underutilization of the area, and that the expansion area also satisfies 4 separate findings and tests required for inclusion in the amended business district. These slides are highlighting a couple of areas in the report as well that show an amended boundary legal description. So the final paragraph there encompasses the expansion area. And similarly, in the amended list of PIN numbers, there's one additional PIN for the 1024 Newberry parcel. And lastly, staff wanted to provide a project update at this time as well. So after tonight's public hearing, staff will prepare an ordinance for the village board's consideration at the work session meeting on July 8th for discussion only, and the village board meeting on July 22nd, where it will be for discussion and action. Staff will also prepare an application for an amendment to the village's comprehensive plan in order to update its future land use map, and a zoning map amendment in order to change the zoning classification for 1024 Newberry from its current classification, which is R1, single family residential, to the I, institutional zoning district. And the reason for that proposed change would be for consistency with the adjacent parking lot property, which is owned by the village. A public parking lot qualifies as a government facility, which is a designation permitted use within the I institutional zoning district. A public hearing would be held for the amendment to the comprehensive plan and the zoning map amendment at the Planning and Zoning Commission's August 19th meeting. And lastly here, demolition, we wanted to note, at 1024 Newberry Avenue is targeted for September, and the fire department would first intend to use that property for training purposes. Environmental testing has been completed, and asbestos abatement will take place later this summer. Due to the limited number of vendors who provide remediation and demolition services within the area, staff does intend to solicit competitive bids and request that the board waive the competitive bid process when authorizing the approval of these vendor contracts. And so these are the next steps we wanted to make sure the community and the board were aware of. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Manager Jar. Moving on, I'm going to entertain questions and comments from the board. I did receive a correspondence from Trustee Zora that I'll read into the record. Hi, Jim. Please read my statement tomorrow night at the board meeting regarding agenda item 6. I apologize for my absence this evening. I would like to provide my feedback on the public hearing regarding the amendment to the 31st Street Barnesdale Business District Plan. As I have previously stated, I support the development of the property at 1024 Newberry Avenue into a parking lot that connects to the existing lot on Beach Avenue. The board has consistently emphasized its commitment to being business-friendly and supporting local establishments, and this parking lot will not only benefit businesses along 31st Street, but those that reside in the area. This is another step in bringing more businesses into the village and creating a more supportive environment for existing ones. If the Park District proceeds with the purchase of the YMCA, this parking lot will become even more essential. The board frequently receives complaints from residents about patrons parking on neighborhood streets in this area. The proposed new parking lot would help alleviate this issue. Many businesses on 31st Street rely on parking variations or shared parking agreements due to limited parking. Acquiring this property is a proactive and responsible step toward long-term planning. I fully support the continued development of 1024 Newberry Avenue. Respectfully, Trustee Zora. With that, I will open up to the board. If any of the board members have any comments. Trustee Council?
Thank you, President DeCipio. As I have stated earlier, when this initially began, I was under the impression that the BDD funds, the TIF district BDD funds, were to be utilized for properties that were in the TIF BDD zone. And at that time, I had asked for confirmation from the TIF attorney, and I did receive confirmation from her regarding usage of those funds. My concern is that we are now looking to put this property into the BDD district, and my question is, and I don't know who to address it to, but my question is this something that, what are the ramifications if we don't put it into the BDD zone as a result of this hearing? And are there any ramifications by us using those funds to purchase this property when it was outside of the BDD zone? I'm still not convinced that it's something that we need based on the parking study that was done last fall. And at this time, I would still like some more information on it before I would render my decision. We had Sam Schwartz conduct a parking study back in September of 2024. And at that time, they deemed that we didn't have the need for additional parking, whether it was then or into the future. And I'm quite certain that this parking study was very well done. They are a reputable firm. They've done work for the village in other projects. And so based on those factors, I'm very hesitant to support the putting the property into the BDD zone unless Attorney Jarusik says that it's an absolute must that we put this into the BDD zone. Since we've already spent the money to purchase the property, I'm not quite sure that there are any other remedies to this. So maybe I can get some explanation from Attorney Jarusik and possibly whoever else feels they can answer these questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee council. Before I turn it over to Attorney Drusek, I'd just like to make the comment that, again, this public hearing is not for the purchase of the property. That's already been done. It's for the placing this parcel into the business district so that we're able to utilize those funds for the improvement of that property. But again, this is just to put it into the business district. It has nothing to do with the purchase of the property, which has already been, we've already sailed that ship. So with that, I'll turn it over to Attorney Drusek.
Yeah, and just, in short, it's my recommendation that the board move forward with amending the business district to incorporate this property into the business district. It aligns, it brings it in alignment with the existing property, parking property adjacent to it. You are going to be spending additional business district funds on demolishing the building and improving the parking lot, making that a larger public parking area. So I certainly recommend this step and that the board approve the amendment.
Does that satisfy your question, trustee council?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, any other board members? Trustee Laudner?
Just as a clarification, Mr. President, just as a clarification, this will give us the opportunity, since it would be in the BDD if we approve this, then to tap into those funds for any future development that we need to pursue related to the development of additional business within the village, right? So it's a matter of opening more opportunities for us to do that.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Trustee Sheehan? No. Okay, we'll move on then to questions and comments from the public. Anyone care to address the board?
My name is Robert Consul. I only have two comments, basically. One was the Friedman study. Basically, one of the arguments considering the property is blighted, so it become part of the BDD. Saying that public sidewalks are in disrepair and cracked asphalt on the property seem to me personally very weak arguments for saying the property is blighted. I believe the house is owned by a widow. I'm sure if you drive through the village, you'll find hundreds of homes in the village probably have cracked concrete or cracked asphalt in their driveways and everything. So it just seems like a very weak argument to put it into the, or consider the property as being blighted, and one of the reasons that was put in there. And the other comment I have is, I know it was mentioned that the Park District would be purchasing the property, I think by trustee Zora, but I think the Park District is actually renting the property. They're not buying the property by any means. So just some general comments, but I think the Friedman study regarding sidewalks and cracked asphalt are pretty weak arguments for considering the property be blighted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Council. Any other comments?
Hi, Mimi Lampert, and I live at 1000 Newberry. I'd just like to address a few things regarding the incorporation of the 1024 property into the BDD. Contrary to the ongoing parking challenges on the 1000 block of Newberry, as Ms. Council stated, a parking use study conducted by Sam Schwartz concluded that no additional parking spots were needed at the time between the tracks and Kemen Avenue. The board agreed at that time, back in September when that study was presented, but noted that potential future businesses may require additional parking. In reality, there just aren't open properties or lots that are vacant along 31st Street between the Indiana Harbor Belt and Kemen. So I don't know where these businesses that you're discussing are going to land that would require the additional parking. Regardless, the village proceeded and purchased the residential property at 1024 Newberry with BDD funds, despite it not being within the current BDD boundaries. That doesn't seem like the proper or transparent way to me to conduct village business. I don't know if it's even legal, but it doesn't seem like a prudent way to conduct business, and it doesn't foster a sense of trust. The board justified the manner in which this agreement was made, stating to residents in personal conversations that the terms and conditions were dictated by the 1024 property owner, who required secrecy and a short deadline date. If the neighbors or community were to learn of the proposed private sale, the owner would call the deal off. That would have been a clear red flag, an indication of how not to do business. Instead, the board decided quickly, without transparency, without community consideration or input to further its agenda of creating more parking for 31st Street business development. Again, despite the study stating there was no need for it. I'm sorry, I have a lot to say. I hope I can keep going. In addition, reviewing the handouts from a post-purchase community meeting, I wasn't able to attend. There were no references noted or factored into the parking lot decision regarding past and ongoing accident and traffic flow studies or reports at the 31st and Newberry intersection and associated current parking dynamics. No study referencing the impact the new lot would make and actually exacerbate rather than alleviate existing traffic flow issues. These considerations and studies should have been addressed before moving forward to even purchase the property at the cost of $383,000, plus additional maintenance and remediation expenses that you just mentioned with the asbestos, and the $1 million cost of the parking lot itself. But the deal is done, so. Now one of the biggest issues will be how the board will reevaluate and handle the parking issue on the 1000 block of Newberry if the Park District takes over the Y building space. This is an opportunity to address things properly and differently after learning so much over the past 18 years of challenges with that parking. Unfortunately, I'm not sure it will be resolved by this proposed parking lot. It would be great if it was, but members will continue to park on the street in front of the houses, blocking driveways and fire hydrants, backing up to park in the opposite side spaces. At a recent Park District meeting that I attended, when asked why members stated they don't feel safe and it's dangerous parking behind the Y in the alley or on the Beach Avenue lot. They prefer to park on the shaded, tree-lined street. I don't blame them. Resident-only parking should be reinstituted. Business patron parking should be in designated business parking spaces in the alley, the angled business parking on Beach Avenue lot. Non-residents parking on the street should be ticketed, not be given warnings, only to be disregarded and encouraged to continue to park on the street. This is your opportunity as a board to proactively partner with the residents for a solution to reinstate our previously tranquil street. It's been 18 years. Be transparent, invite communication, and engage for a positive outcome. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Lampert. Anyone else care to address the board? Okay, any final comments? Oh, I'm sorry.
Me. I live in the blighted area
Your name,
on
please?
Newberry. Yes, I'm blight. Do you all,
Your name, please?
Cheryl Peterson,
Thank you.
in the blighted area of Newberry. You all work for us, is that correct? And you are probably just regular people like me, correct? Anybody in the community can become a trustee. Do you have any experience with urban development and know what the heck is really going on? Why would you make a deal with Gail Nemesek and not be able to tell the neighbors? So this is a secret handshake deal that, yes, we're gonna buy your property, but if she dictates that you are not to tell anyone or the deal is off, how is that kosher? Can anybody answer that question? I get take no. Probably not, because it's not kosher. You should have told the neighborhood, at least the people that, actually, the entire Grange Park should know about what's going on. But certainly the people that live there should know that you want to destroy a building. And actually, do you know the property tax on that building last was $7,000? So that blighted little building, $7,000 that somebody's getting some money from. You people should be ashamed of yourself for not being more forthcoming and telling us what's going on in our own neighborhood. And yet you allow these commercial customers to park in our neighborhood, block our driveways, and do whatever they want, keep jockeying in and out, and the safety of our neighborhood is not even a concern. So the bottom line, I understand you people do not care for the neighborhood on the 1000 block of Newberry. And speaking of that, the 1100 block of Newberry, when Post 031 on Saturday is getting going, that street is wall-to-wall cars. Guess what, folks? The Little Beach parking lot has 0 people parking in there because nobody wants to cross 31st Street. Oh my God, there's cars. So what is, I don't understand where you're coming from. And what is your vision for 31st Street? Did anyone of you ever walk 31st Street? It's full of barbershops, hair salons, dental offices, and car repair shops, churches. Who wants to walk down that street? I don't know. There's no ice cream unless you want to go to Bill's. You got a lot to think about, people.
Thank you, Mrs. Peterson. Anyone else care to address the board?
Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Cedillo. I'm the village manager, and I'd like to make some comments. Do we care about the 1000 block of Newberry? Can you not hear me? I can tell you. Okay. I can tell you unequivocally we do. I cannot tell you the number of nights before COVID that I personally went out onto the streets and counted the cars, given the type of YMCA programming that was happening that night. And there were cars everywhere. And we dealt with several phone calls over the years. We contemplated many different types of solutions in order to address it. So do we care? Unequivocally, we care. The parking that was collecting in that particular area was of a concern. Do we care about the safety in that area? Absolutely. We are in the process, we just received a grant from IDOT to do a traffic and safety study of 31st Street. We will be looking at all types of pedestrian linkages, traffic safety, multimodal, pedestrian safety concerns in that particular area. These types of studies are critical when you have 2 types of instruments such as we do for this area. Number 1, a tax increment financing district, a TIF district, and a business development district. Both of these instruments are raising funds. These funds are to be used for public improvements in that area. This study will look at various components along that corridor to identify and prioritize how that money gets spent. Will we be looking at the intersection of Newberry and 31st Street? Absolutely. Will we be utilizing these funds to make improvements to ensure enhanced pedestrian safety? Absolutely. Similar to the work that we're doing along LaGrange Road now. So those plans, when we conduct that study, these plans will help guide the improvements that need to be made. Those improvements will include wayfinding and improvements to the traffic flow, which will help people understand where parking is available. There's nowhere for parking to go, and studies show that people park closest to the location in which they intend to visit. And I just want to make sure it's absolutely certain that we hear you. We have done the neighborhood dialogue. We can do another neighborhood dialogue again. We will continue the conversation. We have sought and will continue to seek feedback on the parking lot. We made that absolutely clear that we intend to do that, and we are looking forward to your feedback. And we are open to any of the feedback or solutions that you've provided previously. And we have all of those notes, and those have been provided to the board. We don't have a design yet for the parking lot because we want to make sure that it's designed in the most optimal manner as possible. We are taking it one step at a time. And we would not have put this lot into the business development district in advance of purchasing it because it takes so much time to do that. And we did not know that this opportunity was available. We would not make that designation. We would not know to do that. And so it comes after the fact. And hopefully that addresses some of the comments that were made.
So respectfully, I would like to say that, I'm quite surprised by the rhetoric, but it is what it is. And everybody on this dais here are giving of their time all the time. And you can see the way the village is. We have a great village. We're not going to let it be spoiled by 31st Street or Newberry. We're doing our best. We've had forums with you guys. We've talked to you guys. We're doing the best. And these guys are making the best decision possible. In addition to that, we have the most professional staff here of any village I've ever seen. Deputy Jar here, she's a planner. She's a professional planner. We've gone through this. We have people on our staff that go through this. It is not a whim on our part just to take a house away and put a parking lot there. And we did it, and we thought it was the best need of the residents down at your end of the block and also the people that have businesses around there. We're doing it in the best interest of Grange Park. We're not up here to create any shady eyes and say we did this or one-up us. We're up here transparently, and people were told about this beforehand, and I didn't get a phone call. So to come to a board meeting and say that I didn't hear about this and we didn't know about it, you're not being transparent. We did it. Our legal counsel told us at the time, which was not Attorney Jerusek. She was a TIF attorney and BDD attorney, and she told us that it was appropriate and legal for us to go down this path. That's who we pay to give us recommendations on this stuff. We hire the best people, and she is the best TIF attorney, and she told us at that meeting, it's legal, we can do it, it's the right thing to do. Now we have a new attorney on board, and our Attorney Jerusek is telling us the same thing. So, respectfully, I appreciate your concern and your comments to a degree, but these people up here are doing everything they can to make this village better. Attorney Jerusek, anything to add?
No, I think you've covered it.
Anyone else any other board members care to address? Okay, so that I will close the public hearing. Next, we'll move on to public participation. Anyone care to address the board? Move on to consent agenda. Megan?
Thank you, Mr. President. The items on this evening's consent agenda are as follows. A, approval of minutes. 1, village board meeting, May 27th, 2025. 2, village board work session meeting, June 10th, 2025. B, action. Accounts payable and payroll summary, motion 1, to authorize the president and chairperson of the finance committee to sign the register for bills and authorize the treasurer and village clerk to sign checks in payment of operating bills and salaries as itemized in the check registers. And motion 2, to authorize the village treasurer and village clerk to sign checks in the payment of payroll and other bills that become due between this date and the next village board meeting, with subsequent approval of the payroll register and voucher register by the Board of Trustees at its next meeting.
Motion to approve consent agenda is presented.
So moved.
Second.
Megan, all those in favor?
Aye.
Megan, call the roll.
Yep. Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan? Nope. Yes. Okay. Trustee Diaferio?
Yes.
And President DeCipio?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
I apologize, everyone, in my fury here. I forgot to entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing?
The second public hearing, amendment number 1.
So moved.
Second.
Megan, call the roll.
Sure. Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Diaferio?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan, and I apologize, everyone. Moving on, village manager's report, Julia.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I have 2 items to report on this evening, neither of which are included in the packet this evening. The first is regarding a notice of temporary village hall closure. I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that we will be closing Village Hall on Friday, June 27th. That is this Friday. We will be closed only to walk-in visitors due to the installation of a new interior ceiling in the main lobby and the foyer area. It's only temporary, and it is being implemented for the safety of patrons coming to the Village Hall. We will remain available to assist by phone and meet any resident needs during that time. And then we will resume normal operations on Monday, June 30th at 9 a.m. So that's the first item I wanted to mention under my report. The second item is a little bit different. It's regarding the topic of e-bikes. Recently, there have been a number of reports in the media regarding electronic bikes, bicycles, and scooters, and the regulations regarding those pieces of equipment in various communities. I wanted to make sure that folks were aware, because we have gotten some emails and some phone calls and some complaints about the e-scooters and e-bikes in our community, that we do have an ordinance for e-bikes and scooters. However, staff is currently working on evaluating the current ordinance that we have and making improvements and enhancements and changes to our ordinance that is more consistent with some of the other communities in our area, in order to address the safety concerns that are out there for the riders of these pieces of equipment, as well as the safety of the roads. And with that, that concludes my report. So there's more to come on the e-bike ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Julia. Moving on to Administration Committee, Trustee Council.
Thank you, President DeCipio. The administration report is as follows. Arbor Day 2025. Each year, the village celebrates Arbor Day by planting a tree in honor of a community member who has made a meaningful impact. This year, we're proud to announce that longtime resident and small business owner Tom McCormick has been selected as our 2025 honoree. Tom's roots in LaGrange Park's environmental efforts run deep. In 1989, he helped launch the village's very first recycling program, serving as the committee's first president and leading a grassroots effort that laid the foundation for today's curbside recycling. In recognition of his dedication, a tree will be planted in Tom's honor later this year, most likely in the fall when conditions are best for planting. Congratulations, Tom, and thank you for helping sow the seeds of environmental stewardship in our village. Seasonal watering reminder. As the weather heats up, the village would like to remind residents of seasonal watering regulations that are in effect from May 15 to September 15. Odd addresses can water lawns on odd-numbered days on the calendar, and even street addresses can water on even-numbered calendar days. Thank you for your cooperation. Youth Commission vacancies. The village is seeking new members to serve on the LaGrange Park Youth Commission during the next school year. This is a great opportunity for students in grades 7 through 12 to engage with their peers on community issues. Meetings are held once a month on Monday evenings from September through June. Visit the village's website to learn more and apply by June 30th. Village offices closed, as our village manager stated. We have another closing on the 4th of July. Regular office hours will resume on Monday, July 7 at 9 a.m. So keep those two dates in mind, this Friday and again Friday, July 4th. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Council. Moving on, Building and Zoning Committee, Trustee Diaferio.
Thank you, President DeCipio. Here is our report for the month. As requested for insertion in the Village Board meeting agenda packet, the following is a brief summary of Building Department activities for the month of May. Additional records and correspondence kept within the department are available for your review if needed. 71 building permits were issued in May 2025 compared to 99 issued in May of 2024. As of May, the pace of permit submittals year to date is less than the number of submittals at this time last year. Estimated construction cost for the last month was just over $1.355 million, which is less than the $2.896 million that was realized in May of 2024. Permit fees collected last month equal $26,351, which is less than the $61,147 of permit fees collected in May of 2024. 162 building inspections were conducted the past month compared to 143 in May of 2024. Only 4 inspections failed this month, while the remaining were approved. Total of 13 new code enforcement cases were recorded last month. 8 of those projects were closed out, and the remaining 5 cases require further code enforcement action. And that concludes our report. Part B. The Community Park District of Grange Park is seeking to build an addition to the existing recreation center at 1501 Barnesdale Road. The subject property is located in the OS Open Space Zoning District. Manufacturing properties are located to the north and the south. The Indiana Harbor Belt Railroad is located to the east, and multifamily residential properties are located west of Barnesdale Road. Section 153.060B of the Village's zoning code requires site plan review and approval for building permits for additions to non-residential development. Additionally, the applicant is seeking 4 variations from the code in accordance with Section 153.057. The proposed project includes the addition of a gymnasium with flexible recreation space and a stage, new ADA accessible concession area and restrooms with outdoor access, a new lobby with creation space, an elevated indoor walking track, an elevator, improved security, dedicated entrance for preschool and summer camp, and infrastructure for a green roof with recreational space. The applicant has filed for approval of the following variations. 1, application for a variation to increase the maximum building height from 30 feet to 49 feet and 8 inches. 2, application for a variation to decrease the minimum rear setback from 25 feet to 22 feet, 9 inches. 3, application for a variation to decrease the minimum number of required off-street parking spaces from 379 spaces to 154 spaces. 4, application for a variation to allow a 54 square foot wall sign to be located on the building wall along the interior side lot line, and to decrease the minimum height that a wall sign can be attached to the building from 7 feet 6 inches to 3 feet 6 inches above the ground. The Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing regarding the application for the variations on May 2025. The applicant attended the public hearing and provided testimony. The minutes from the public hearing, the court reporter transcript, and the approved findings of fact are attached to this memorandum. Upon conclusion of the public hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of all applicant zoning requests, subject to certain conditions, by a vote of 7-0. The conditions are set forth in the enclosed ordinance as follows. A, the Community Park District of LaGrange Park shall provide clear information and direction to visitors regarding appropriate and available parking options during high-capacity event and peak usage times for a recreational center. The guidance shall include, but not limited to, placement of temporary off-site signage in the West Parkway of Barnesdale Road adjacent to the residential properties, on-site signage and or wayfinding measures, event-specific parking instructions, digital communication via the Park District's website, event listings and registration materials, and coordination with the nearby property owners with which the Park District has parking access agreements. B, the Community Park District of LaGrange Park shall use commercially responsible efforts to expand the amount of off-site parking spaces available for use by its patrons by seeking to enter into parking lot use agreements with nearby property owners who own parking lots. C, the Community Park District of LaGrange Park shall construct the project in substantial conformance with the submittals set forth in the application, subject to modifications to comply with the applicable laws, regulations, and ordinances issued by the village and any state, federal, county, village, and other governmental agency, with regulatory and or permitting oversight and jurisdiction over the project. Staff recommendation, staff concurs with the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'd like to bring forth a motion to approve an ordinance granting variations for 1501 Barnesdale Road, Community Park District of LaGrange Park, cases 25-0005 to 25-0008.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I'll have discussion in a second. We do have representation for the Park District here tonight. Their architect, would you care to say a few words to the board before we move on to board discussion?
Thank you very much to members of the board. My name is Ronald McGrath from Tria Architecture. We're the architect of record for this project, and have worked very closely with the Park District and very hard on this project to blend the addition in, even though it's a taller addition than the existing building, to try to blend it into the existing building, and to be very conscious of how its effect on the neighboring properties. We get benefit from the fact that the north and south properties adjacent to it are industrial use sites, as well as the railroad tracks behind us. So it does, we do have some separation between the taller addition and residential properties, which does help with the impact on the neighborhood. And basically, we've worked very hard to cram as many things into this building as we possibly can. I believe at the zoning hearing, I stated that there's no one space, maybe other than the bathrooms, that do only one thing. Every space is designed to do at least 2 different services for the park district, because of the amount of space that we have and the amount of things that they want to try to accomplish. Every space has multiple uses, so we've worked very hard to fit as much as we can into that building, into the square footage that we have, and that's sort of what led to the variances that are before you. It's the little things that we couldn't accomplish, that we couldn't squeeze in without losing some of those services to the community.
Great, thank you. With that, we'll move to board discussion. Trustee DeFiorio.
Yes, I fully support this project. I think it offers and creates additional amenities for all of our residents, a very community-focused area of our community, and like I said, fully support the variations that are being requested.
Thank you. Any other comments? Trustee Lautner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, certainly this is an exciting project, having been involved in the original building along with President DeCipio. It's what we had visioned, and we did what we could when we could do it, and the vision that we saw that hopes sometime in the future we'd be able to see that project go into that next phase of the area that we all wanted to see happen with the gymnasium and all the exciting things that you have. I also want to comment on all the efforts, of course, of the Planning and Zoning Committee. It's a very extensive project and an extensive review project to make sure all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, et cetera, for this project. I do have a couple of questions to get clarified, and one of the areas that, and I apologize if I missed it in the detail of the hearings and the architectural drawings, et cetera. I was just kind of curious on the bathrooms that are accessible from the outside. Are those going to be heated bathrooms, and are they secured? How are they secured from the inside? I thought that might be a critical area. Well received and well needed, that's for sure. But that was an area that I had some concerns about.
So as far as heated, yes, we are going to heat them only to the extent that they need to be in order to keep the plumbing intact. They're not, I don't believe their intent right now is for them to be used in the winter, since I don't have outdoor winter programming. They're predominantly for summer programming. And the doors on the bathroom, so they're only accessible from the outside. And the doors to the outside will have access control on them, so that they will be able to control, they can set up a time clock, if you will. So the doors will not be, the bathrooms will not be accessible when the park, 2 o'clock in the morning, when the park is not in use, and anybody who may go in there is not doing it for good reasons.
And only available when events are going on, or is it going to require manpower or person power to come and lock them up at night, or is that where the timer comes in?
They'll be controlled. We're introducing part of the security that was mentioned that added the buildings. We are adding access control to certain parts of the building, certain doors on the building. The front door to the entrance that's right now the front entrance, that will be the preschool entrance, some interior doors to isolate out the preschool space, but also to control, they will automatically control. So they will be on a schedule, so they will be open at certain times and locked at other times, and then the staff can just sit at a computer and change them their locked or unlocked condition depending on programming or what the needs are at that time.
Thanks for that clarification. The other question I have, and I'll say a concern, is the number of parking spaces. Significant reduction being requested here in what's required versus the requested amendment, and the reference to reasonable efforts to your adjacent businesses for access during events. What's been done already? I mean, is there letters of intent that have already been orchestrated, or is that a process that will begin when this gets approved? I mean, like I said, I'm very concerned about parking for events with the indication of best efforts, so to speak, or reasonable efforts, I guess I should say, to get their approval for utilizing those in off hours, I assume.
So I think my answer will be in two parts. So first of all, as far as access to parking off-site, the Park District already has an agreement with the property to the south. So that's already been in place and been in place for several years. And Jessica's been working with them to, I don't say formalize it, to see if there's any way that they can access more of the parking lot or anything like that. But I know she's already reached out to the property to the north after the zoning hearing that was discussed. She's already reached out to them. She's already having discussions with them to put an agreement in place in order to use that property for parking as well during events. I don't know if that's been formalized or not yet, but I know that discussion has already been, I mean, it's only been a few weeks since we had the zoning hearing, or a month, I think, since the zoning hearing. So she started that process of reaching out to them and talking to them and working on an agreement for that. So that's part one, is that she's already, the two properties that are reasonable to look to for additional parking, she already has an agreement, the Park District already has an agreement. The other, they are working on getting another agreement with them as well. So then the second part of it is more of a discussion about the large events. So the biggest event that creates the most parking is baseball. When baseball is going on, the intent is not to have other large programming within the rec center or the building, so that there's a scheduling work that the Park District is working on in order to control how much parking is needed on the site. So right now, we're not affecting baseball, so baseball is what parks there for baseball now will be what parks there next year and the year after, and so on and so forth. So by adding the parking spaces on the site that we are improving the parking condition for the largest event, which is the baseball. When there is no baseball going on, if you were to eliminate baseball from the equation, the parking equation, we have more than enough parking spaces for the building itself. So the only thing is when there's an overlap between the two. So that's where the additional properties come into play. But there's a work that the Park District is doing in their programming to minimize the parking requirements within the building when there are baseball tournaments going on.
So if agreements are reached with the south and the north lots, does the combined total meet or exceed the 357 or whatever the number was? Do we know that?
I don't know what the parking capacity of the property to the north is.
So it is a question. I mean, one of the worst things you want to happen, obviously, is have an event and then all of a sudden there's no place to park. And first of all, comes complaints, and second of all, then people say we can't find parking anyway, so things don't turn out the way that you hope that they do.
Absolutely.
So, well, I guess I am concerned about that. There's no question. Sounds like you're pretty well comfortable with the south, and that's been in place, I think, many years. Other adjacent lots, I guess I'd like to see that there would be a firm commitment, minimum letter of intent of some sort that confirms that you have access to those lots on those events.
The south lot they do have written, and they do have a written agreement with. The north lot, that's discussions in place. So I assume that there's no written agreement.
So discussions are underway,
Yes.
or let's get together and talk about it.
No, there's discussions are underway.
Okay, no more questions. Thank you very
Mr.
much for
McGrath.
clarifying that.
I'm just going to stay up here just in case there are any other questions, because I'm lazy and I don't want
I'd
to walk
like
back and
to
forth.
have the board directed to staff first, if we can. Trustee DeFerrio, do you have any comments?
I do have an additional question, if I may. How often has capacity of parking been an issue to date as it stands?
I don't know the answer to that directly as the architect. I do know that parking is an issue. My understanding is parking is only an issue during baseball tournaments. So on the summer baseball tournament weekends, that's the only time that I believe it is an issue. Other events, I do know that the times I've been at the Park District building, the lot is 10 to 15% full. A majority of the lot is empty when I've been there during the week. And for board meetings and weekday evenings and things like that, I have not been there during a baseball tournament, so I couldn't speak to that personally.
Again, yep.
Yes, we are adding significant number of parking spaces to the site.
There will be 41 additional parking
Okay. Yeah.
stalls with the redesign, which actually improves the overall parking deficit, which there already is a deficit with the existing parking, given the uses on the site. And the property to the south, Chase Products, that is an additional 54 spaces for which there is an agreement in place.
Thank you for the clarification. And the one additional comment, Yena Park obviously has been under construction this season, which has offered additional pressure on Hainsworth, has been my experience overall. So I would assume in the future that there may be scheduling that takes that field into consideration, distributes some of that pressure that's predominantly been on Hainsworth during baseball tournaments, which from my experience in being involved with that was part of the, obviously scheduling that they were hoping to do as well. So again, very supportive of this. Obviously a lot of great memories personally at Hainsworth, and hoping to see this go through.
Thank you, Trustee DiFiorio. Any other comments from any board members? Trustee Council?
Thank you, President DeCipio. In reading the summary of recommendations made by the zoning board, this probably should go to Maggie. The condition A, the community park district shall provide clear information, wayfinding, et cetera, and posting of signage on the east and west side of Barnsdale. Barnsdale is an extremely small road. I've never, in all the years that I've lived here, seen anyone attempt to park on Barnsdale during baseball, during business day developments. So is there a reason that we have to have them post no parking signs on the parkway? I mean, does that condition have to be met? Or can we ask to waive that condition?
This condition was crafted in order to provide for some flexibility for the park district to manage parking for large events in a way that is appropriate for whatever that event may be. So for baseball or some of the larger events, the park district may deem that more communication is better than less. And one potential way in which they may provide communication or wayfinding or signage related to parking or parking management could be along Barnsdale. But the Planning and Zoning Commission directed staff and the attorney to craft a condition that would be inclusive of many options in order to meet whatever was necessary due to the size of the event, because there will be different event types happening with the new rec center and the existing ball field. So I hope that answers your question. There are many ways in which the park district may be able to best communicate where to park or to direct visitors to park. And that was one potential way in which we might consider doing that.
So is that something that the park district has discussed regarding parking, of placement of signs for temporary parking or for no parking signs along that Barnsdale Road area?
I don't know that the park district has gotten into the details of it yet. I do know that they have agreed to the conditions placed on the approval by the zoning board.
Okay. And then, Yeah, pretty much you answered my question earlier about the increase of parking spaces. So thank you for the presentation.
My pleasure.
That's it.
No other comments, so we'll let Megan call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Diaferio?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Trustee DiFerrio. Moving on to engineering capital projects, Trustee DiFerrio.
Thank you, Mr. President. Here's our report for the month of May. Designs on the plans and specifications for the Village's 2025 water main improvement project has been completed. The project focus is a water main replacement on Kings Court and Castle Circle. Permits to IEPA and MWRD have been submitted and awaiting comments. Project will be advertised in mid-June with a July bid opening. Work began on the design of the 2025 Park Road Improvements Project, which includes work on the 300 and 400 blocks of Park Road. Is nearing completion and being readied for submittal to IDOT for review. Review comments were received and plans and contract specifications revised, resubmitted for final approval. It is anticipated IDOT to review June advertisement. Review comments from IDOT were received for the 2025 Park Road Improvements Project, which includes work on the 300 and 400 blocks of Park Road. The plans and contract specifications were revised and resubmitted to IDOT for final approval. It is anticipated that IDOT will review and approve, and the project will be advertised in June. The work on central area sewer separation projects plans and specifications are currently underway. Coordination of MWRD Stormwater Partnership Grant and HUD HUD grant agreements with both entities in the village are underway. That concludes our report for the month of May, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Diaferio. Moving on to Public Safety Committee, Trustee Sheehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll start with the police. Total number of crimes reported for the first 5 months of 25 are almost identical to last year, with 93 incidents reported this year compared to 96 in 2024. Traffic enforcement is at 1,940 total tickets issued through May of 25. This includes adjudication and state-issued citations. Overall, police activity is 930 total incidents reported in the month of May. Total incidents for the first 5 months total 5,140. Of those 930 total incidents for the month of May, 39 were assisted a fire department, 189 were self-initiated building or park checks, 134 were traffic stops, and 54 were closed home checks. PD staff took part in the multiple Memorial Day celebrations throughout town and in neighboring jurisdictions. Department members attended 170.5 hours of training, along with the completion of required monthly online training and Lexipol daily training bulletins. Probationary officers Koza and Pinto began the 16-week police academy held at COD. 2 new 2025 Ford Interceptor utilities were ordered through the Suburban Purchasing Cooperative, and a 2025 Chevy Tahoe LS was ordered through Carl Automotive Group. All sworn officers participated in outdoor firearms training qualifications. PD staff assisted with the Run for the Roses. PD staff participated in a Touch It Truck event at Barnesdale School and the Ready Teddy picnic at the Park District. Don't miss out on the upcoming National Night Out event, which is taking place on Tuesday, August 5th from 6 to 9 p.m. on the grounds of Denning Park and the Grange. Follow the police department's social media platforms for further details. Please follow the police department on our Facebook page at the Grange Park Police Department, our Twitter account at LaGrange Park PD, and Instagram at LaGrange Park PD. A friendly reminder about securing one's personal property at all times. Please lock your vehicles and residences, especially during overnight hours. If you are going on vacation, please utilize the new online vacation watch portal, frontlinepss.com/LaGrange Park, or log on to the village's website and access the portal under the police department page. If you do not have internet access, feel free to fill out a vacation watch card at the PD here at Village Hall between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. We will switch over to fire for the month. EMS incidents this month were 183. There have been 906 year-to-date compared to 777 year-to-date for '24. Fire rescue incidents this month, 73. There have been 288 year-to-date compared to 238 year-to-date in 2024. Personnel participated in a LADSI Career Day event along with LaGrange Fire Department. An environmental assessment was completed on site at 1024 Newberry to identify the mitigation required in order to obtain our Cook County demolition permit and IEPA fire training burn permit. Personnel participated in specific hazmat training this month in order to comply with the new state fire marshal requirements to maintain their hazmat operations certification. Staff assisted with conducting and evaluating a Park Junior High fire drill. Staff participated in MABUS 10 live fire training sessions. Chief Magus, Deputy Chief Seneca, and Captain Tullis assisted with instructing and safety at various sessions. Personnel participated in the Barnesdale Road School Touch-a-Truck event, also the Ready Teddy end-of-year picnic at the Park District facility. The department provided EMS staffing for the Run for the Roses and assisted with Memorial Day ceremony at Memorial Park. Our 4 new candidates graduated from the COD Fire Academy during the month. Congratulations to them. Our fire truck participated in the pet parade with some staff and their children, while others staffed our station to assist with coverage. Incidents of interest on Saturday, May 17th at 4:20 p.m. Chief 1201 and Truck 1219 responded to the assist McCook with a significant structure fire involving the photovoltaic system and roof on the large Burke beverage facility. Our truck and personnel fed and deployed a hose line to the roof, and Chief 1201 assisted with operations. Thursday, May 22nd, 9:46 a.m., we responded to assist Brookfield with a crash involving a school bus and small SUV. Several children were transported to aerial hospitals, and our ambulance transported the SUV driver. On Thursday, May 29th at 2:31 a.m., we responded to a single vehicle crash on the 800 block of North LaGrange Road. A vehicle hit a tree and landed on its side, and firefighters had to extricate the driver through the front windshield. I have an action item, public safety, disposal of surplus vehicle. The police department has the following item, which has been involved in an accident on June 2nd, 2025 and declared a total loss by Irma. With that being said, the following item has been determined to be surplus. You see the 2023 Ford Interceptor police vehicle. We'll make a motion to approve an ordinance authorizing the disposal of surplus personal property owned by the Village of LaGrange Park, the 2023 Ford Interceptor utility police vehicle.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion, Trustee Sheehan?
Yeah, I support this, Mr. President.
Any other comments from the board? Trustee Lautner?
One question, how much of the safety equipment and squad equipment were you able to salvage on that, do you think, or has that been done yet?
All the equipment was able to be removed with the exception of what was on the front grille. So everything was removed, and the new vehicle will probably be in service probably Thursday of this week.
And adaptable to the new vehicle. Awesome.
Yes.
Thanks for your efforts in saving what you could.
Any other comments? Seeing none, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Diaferio?
Yes.
President DeCipio?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan.
Now we'll go from public service to public works. Public Works replaced one lead service line for the month due to a detected leak. Hydrant flushing continued on the west side and is anticipated to complete the section next month. Brush collection program started. DPW has begun to use a brush tracking program with GIS to allow residents to see our current location and completed streets. The resident mulch delivery program also occurred. Nearly 250 loads of mulch were delivered to residents requesting mulch. DPW assisted LaGrange with street sweeping after the pet parade was completed. Multiple employees attended the hands-on forestry training, including pruning, felling, aerial lift safety, and chainsaw maintenance. The Illinois Arborist Association hosted the training in Bolingbrook. Employees attended the OSHA 10-hour class hosted by Irma. Matt DiCasola attended the APWA Road Scholar Program this month in Effingham. He has completed his second year and will graduate from the program next May in his final year. Staff participated in a touch truck event at Barnesdale School. Pothole repairs were made in various locations, along with parkway restorations began from prior excavation. GIS work continued collecting the data on village-owned assets, along with continued training throughout the village. Water meters were read in all sections. 15 monthly bacterial samples were taken, along with the continuation of lead and copper sampling. Various water and sewer work orders were completed, along with resident tree concerns and general construction inquiries. Routine maintenance of the department's fleet and equipment was completed, as well as the police and fire vehicles. Next, Mr. President, we have the resolution. Resolution, Illinois Public Works Mutual Aid Network Agreement. The purpose is to execute a resolution between Illinois Public Works Mutual Aid Network and the Village of Grange Park to give or receive assistance if needed. General background: in 23, the Village Board approved and entered into an intergovernmental agreement with IPWMAN for the shared use of resources among various public work entities in Illinois. Recently, IPWMAN has revised its bylaws to include not only natural disasters, but also to allow members to utilize IPWMAN to request resources for various purposes within their member community. This is similar to what occurs with communities that have multiple water main breaks, etc., and surrounding communities are called to assist. To be a member of IPWMAN, communities with fewer than 15,000 people pay an annual fee of $100 for the service. This is a small cost for access to these resources and personnel who can respond to an event we may deem necessary. Staff recommends approving the execution with the Illinois Public Works Mutual Aid Network. Therefore, I make a motion to approve a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of the Illinois Public Works Mutual Aid Network Intergovernmental Agreement.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion. Trustee Sheehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I support this. I think for $100, it's a no-brainer. I guess my only question maybe would be directed to Director Ratty, that if we utilize it and say we call somebody out or we use another community during normal hours, and then it leads to overtime hours, do we run into a gray area with our in-house team, or how would there, do you see any issues with that?
I don't. I mean, again, if we had some sort of a disaster like that, I mean, all of our staff are going to be in anyways, so there wouldn't be anything with the union or anything like that that they can grieve. Okay. And again, I mean, you know, with IPWMAN's part of the agreement and everything is that, you know, that responding community is actually utilizing their expenses. They're
Sure.
paying their salaries, things like that. So it's a benefit to us, but I don't see that being a problem.
Okay, thanks. That's all I have. I fully support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Sheehan. Any other comments from the board? Seeing none, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Diafario?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan.
And lastly, we'll go to the resolution for tree removal services, both for during business hours and after hours, and stump grinding services. The purpose is to execute a resolution for tree removal services during business hours, after business hours, and stump removal services. The Public Works Department collaborated with Attorney Jurisic on a request for proposal for tree removal and stump grinding services. Staff submitted the RFP to 8 reputable tree care companies and also listed the RFP on the IML's website. On June 16th of this year at 10 a.m., the proposals were due to Public Works. After reviewing the submissions, the results are below. You see the prices broken down by Homer Tree, A&B, and Winkler. You see the prices for the stump removal service. In the current fiscal year budget, there are 2 funds to draw from for these services, which include the following. See the correction under table for $15,000 for budgeted for stump grinding. Thank you for that. Staff recommends awarding a contract to Homer Tree Care, Inc. for tree removal services during business hours, and to A&B Landscaping and Tree Service for tree removal services after business hours, as well as stump removals by A&B. Therefore, I make a motion, a resolution approving the waiver of the competitive bid process in lieu of solicitation of competitive proposals and authorizing the approval and execution of vendor contracts with Homer Tree Care, Inc. and A&B Landscaping and Tree Service for the tree and stump grinding services for fiscal year 25-26, authorizing the expenditure of village general and MFT funds in the amount not to exceed $49,500 to pay for such services.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion, trustee Sheehan.
A little sticker shock on this compared to how we've been taken care of for many years before this, but sign of the times, I support.
Any other comments from the board? Seeing none, Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Diaferio?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, trustee Sheehan. Moving on to Finance Committee, trustee Lautner.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening I have the financial report for the end of April, which is the first month after the fiscal year. Fiscal year to date general fund revenue of $836,412 is at 6.9% of the annual budget and a little over $7,000 or 0.8% lower than last year. Property tax receipts are at $39,904 or 96.5% lower than last year. That's because receipts early in the fiscal year are typically smaller and variable. Other local taxes are at $569 or 0.7% greater than last year. Intergovernmental receipts are up $50,896 or 10.5% from last year. Sales tax and income tax continue to trend higher than last year and are above budget, while use tax and personal property replacement tax are lower than last year. The state use tax decline was anticipated to the state's tax legislation, which moved taxes on some out-of-state and online purchases from the use tax to the state and local sales taxes. However, the decline is significantly more than expected at this time. Licenses and registration fees are at $12.46 or 33.8% lower than last year. Permit receipts are at $22,144 or 42% lower than the prior year, and that's due to lower new construction permits. Charges for services are at $13,233 or 13.8% higher than last year, and that is due to the timing of tower lease payments. Fine revenue is at $25.58 or 22.3% higher than last year due to court fines. Miscellaneous revenue is at $13,024 or 27.3% less than last year, and that's due primarily to lower interest revenue as a result of lower rates. At this point, total general fund expenditures of $1,030,385 are at 8.5% of the annual budget, and $80,428 are 8.5% higher than last year. And at this point, after 1 month, all departments are within budget expectations. That concludes our report from the finance area this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you, trustee Lautner. Moving on to other reports, village clerk,
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report this evening.
our village treasurer, our village engineer, our village attorney,
No report tonight.
commercial revitalization committee, trustee Diaferio.
Thank you, President DeCipio. Here is our Commercial Revitalization Committee report. LaGrange Road Traffic Safety Improvements Project. The village is actively working to improve safety, accessibility, and mobility along LaGrange Road through LaGrange Road Traffic Safety Improvements Project. Earlier this year, the village launched a Phase 1 preliminary engineering study funded by a $175,000 Invest in Cook grant to develop design concepts that meet IDOT standards and incorporate community input. Residents shared feedback at a public open house in April and via an online survey. At the June 10th work session meeting, the village board approved an expansion of the Phase 1 study area to include the Oak Avenue intersection. This amendment extends the study area north of Woodlawn Avenue and addresses community feedback calling for a comprehensive safety improvements near Memorial Park, the Grange Park Public Library, and the Village Market Shopping Center. Kimberly Horn will be conducting additional data collection, crash analysis, and intersection evaluations in this area. The full summary of community engagement, including the online survey, is now available on the village's website. 31st Street Corridor Transportation Plan. This summer, the village will kick off the 31st Street Corridor Transportation Plan, a comprehensive planning effort focused on improving safety, accessibility, and the overall image of the 31st Street Corridor. The plan will be informed by crash data, on-site roadway and intersection evaluations, and a robust stakeholder outreach. It will identify key safety concerns, recommend mitigation strategies, and propose actionable improvements, including potential funding sources and implementation steps for priority projects. Streetscape enhancements, such as signage, landscaping, lighting, seating, public art, and other elements, will also be included to improve gateways, enhance wayfinding, and create a more welcoming, pedestrian-friendly environment. The full scope of services is available on the village's website, and stay tuned for more information about upcoming community engagement opportunities. Facade and Property Revitalization Program. The village is accepting applications for the Facade and Property Revitalization Program, which assists property and business owners who aim to enhance the external appearance of their properties. In order to be eligible, a building must be used for commercial purposes and must be located within one of the village's TIF and/or business districts. Visit the village's website for more information. Commercial Revitalization Committee. Stay up to date on what's happening in Grange Park by attending the village's Commercial Revitalization Committee meetings. The committee meets regularly to discuss how the village can best support new and existing businesses and enhance the commercial areas in town. Upcoming topics include upcoming streetscape projects around the Village Market and 31st Street. Check the calendar page on the village's website for upcoming meeting dates and agendas. That concludes our monthly report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Diaferio. Motion to approve committee and collectors reports as presented.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on. Just one comment, then I would like to ask Chief to make a few. Nobody said public service was easy, but it's certainly rewarding, and I just want to thank the staff for all your hard work and professionalism, and this board up here for all the hard work you guys put in to making our village what it is. We have a great community, and it shows. And sometimes we get detoured a little bit off, and it gets a little rough once in a while, but the rewards certainly outweigh these situations that we present with sometimes. But again, I want to thank staff for all your hard work that you put into this community, and to the board for all your hard work, and our attorney for being with us on our side and making sure that we do things right and legal and up front, because that's what it's all about, is just to be honest and ethical and do the right thing. And I think everyone up here and our staff has done that down the road. So thank you all. I'd like to ask Chief to make a few comments. We have a couple of retirees.
Thank you, President DeCipio. So I would just like to formally recognize the upcoming retirements of two dedicated members of our police department, Officer Matt Fellers and Deputy Chief John Strezzo. Officer Fellers has served the LaGrange Park community for 20 years. His last day with the village will be Tuesday, July 1st. He has served with professionalism and compassion day in and day out. His steady presence and commitment to public safety has earned the respect of his colleagues and the residents alike. Deputy Chief John Strezzo is retiring this Friday after 26 years with the department. His retirement marks the culmination of a distinguished career of leadership and vision. I can speak for myself and members of the department that we are grateful for his years of dedicated service and the positive impact that he's made on both our internal culture and community outreach. So with that being said, I'd like to just extend my sincerest appreciation to both of those officers and best wishes to both of them moving forward.
Thank you, Chief, and I will extend that from the board too, to thank both those gentlemen for all that they've contributed to our community. Moving on, public participation. Seeing none, any new business? Motion to move into closed session?
Submit a motion to move into closed session for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining in accordance with 5 ILCS 120/2C2, not to return to regular session until July 8th in this room.
Have a motion, do I have a second? Second. Motion and a second. Megan, call the roll.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Council?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Diaferio?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. President.
Thank you, Megan. We'll move into closed session.